Trump confirmed deportation strategy will include national emergency declaration and the military. You see, this is way deeper than most people think. I already told y'all in the Trump's True Purpose video, which I'm attached to the end of this video. I stated when they issue a national emergency, this means they've given up their power to FEMA. As you can see here, they say he's trying to reverse Biden's invasion. Also, in Trump True Purpose video, you will see how the way Biden came into office and reversed everything that Trump did. They say President Trump will marshal every federal and state power necessary to institute the largest deportation operation of illegal criminals, drug dealers, and human traffickers in history. You see, this is way deeper than most people think. For one, most people don't even know what human trafficking is. Human trafficking involves the use of force, fraud, coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial act. As y'all can see, violence, manipulation, false promises of well-paying jobs, romantic relationships, language barriers, fear of their traffickers, fear of law enforcement, prevents the victims from seeking help from their crimes that's being committed on them. Traffickers look for people who are easy targets, such as people that have psychological emotional issues, people that's in need for money, people that has a lack of a social safety net, natural disasters, political instability. The trauma caused by the traffickers can be so great that many may not identify themselves as victims or seek help, even in highly public settings. So if y'all watch me and y'all been on your spiritual journey for a while, you should know that we are prisoners of war. Black people are the main humans being trafficked. We're being frauded all day, every day. We gotta work 10 times harder for the same amount of money that other people barely work for. We have no social safety net. We go online, all we do is get attacked. I mean, it's so crazy. Like, all the quote-unquote law enforcement is trafficking us. Even our jobs. People is right in the middle of it and they don't realize what's happening. Now, I need y'all to go to my YT page and watch this video called Dismantling the Deep State. I go into details about these agencies and who specifically are the people that's committing the human trafficking. As I always stress, that the left wing and the right wing is the same bird. The left believe in coercion and deception, which is no free will, versus the right, which believes in telling you partial truths and allows you to make your own choice. But of course, there's plenty of other factors that can really throw you off because, like I said, they don't tell you the full truth. So I want y'all to check this clip out, and also, like I said, I'm gonna add 2 videos after this. It's gonna be the Trump True Purpose video and also history repeating itself, and hopefully y'all can put all that together in y'all minds so all of this makes sense to you. Anyways, y'all know how I keep it. Y'all be guys. Hey.
But look, we did something that was historic. We saved tens of millions of lives worldwide. We, together, all of us, not me, we got a vaccine done, 3 vaccines done, and tremendous therapeutics like Regeneron and other things that have saved a lot of lives. We got a vaccine done in less than 9 months that was supposed to take from 5 to 12 years. Because of that vaccine, millions and millions of people. I think this would have been the Spanish flu of 1917, where up to 100 million people died. This was going to ravage the country far beyond what it is right now. Take credit for it. Take credit for it. It's a great, what we've done is historic. Don't let them take it away. Don't take it away from ourselves. You're playing right into their hands when you sort of like, oh, the vaccine. If you don't want to take it, you shouldn't be forced to take it. No mandates, but take credit because we saved tens of millions of lives. Take credit. Don't let them take that away from you.
Okay, so the president made news.
Do you agree with that?
Both the president and I are vaxxed, and did you get the booster?
Yes.
I got it too. Okay, so
Don't. That's a very tiny group of.
This is another very important video, so stick with me. But first, I will address this because I already know it's going to be in the comments. I was in a car accident, and no, I don't remember how it happened. But anyways, y'all already know I gotta say something about this Trump situation because he plays an extremely vital role in this movie that we're living. As I mentioned to y'all several times before, he actually believes in free will, not the coercion that we're currently going through. Also, as I stated before, I believe he will be the one to set off the first trumpet of the apocalypse. Revelations 8:7. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail, fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down to earth, A third of the earth was burnt up, a third of the trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. This is the war in heaven that's going to manifest here when the dimensions merge. So notice that hell and fire, which are complete opposites, right? The cold is low frequency, which will be the dragons and its creations. The heat is high frequency, which will be the grays and its creations, which are heavenly beings. That is called the Elohim. So this happens when the Skynet opens, which is the firmament. It's often referred to as the veil being lifted. The moment everyone can't deny us quote-unquote conspiracy theorists was right the whole time, but it'll be too late for them by then. So I'm about to share a clip of this video which shows the real Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump being notified that they initiated a live exercise without telling them. And it's being led by Alex Azar because he feared the ability of Trump and Pompeo hindering his plans.
So we were alerted by some discussions that Dr. Redfield, the director of the CDC, had with Chinese colleagues on January 3rd. It's since been known that there may have been cases in December, not that we were alerted in December.
Mr. President, the other question I have for you.
Excuse me, we'll do it in a second. Mike,
May I just have one more thing? There's been some discussion about China and what they knew and when they knew it, and I've been very critical. We need to know immediately. The world is entitled to know. The Chinese government was the first to know of this risk to the world, and that puts a special obligation to make sure that data gets to our scientists, our professionals. This is not about retribution. This matters going forward. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We need to make sure that even today, the data sets that are available to every country, including data sets that are available to the Chinese Communist Party, are made available to the whole world. It's an imperative to keep people safe.
And this is the reason I said the real Mike Pompeo, because somehow he managed to lose 90 pounds in 6 months without surgery, without nutrition counseling, or without a personal trainer. If that's not suspicious, I don't know what is. If y'all haven't noticed, the same thing that happens to celebrities will happen to high-ranking officials also if they don't comply with their agenda. Here's Alex Azar. Was there not a Tsar Alexander that started wars everywhere? This is history repeating itself. So do y'all remember when Trump was downplaying the situation in the very beginning by saying he's an alarmist, everything's under control, and his most famous line is just one person coming from China? Also note, it says the Trump administration wasn't planning on declaring a public health emergency. I know it may not sound like a lot, but as long as he delayed it, he literally saved millions of people with all the delays he created in their plan. Because once again, he believes in free will, not the coercion, because they have to face their karma for that. So eventually, Alex Azar went ahead and issued the public health emergency. This forced Trump to issue a national emergency. When he issued a national emergency, he gave up all of his power to FEMA. This is why immediately after he declares a national prayer day, because he knows the power of manifestation, and he knew he lost all control over the situation. So that was his final attempt for us to use our power to prevent this whole thing from happening. So FEMA isn't what we think it is. We all should have known that when we seen them coffins all around the country. And it was for this particular reason for what they're planning right now. FEMA was created in a series of executive orders. A presidential executive order, whether constitutional or not, becomes law simply by its publication in the Federal Registry. Congress is bypassed. Executive Order 12148 created a federal emergency management agency that is to interface with the Department of Defense and the Civil Defense Planning and Funding. An emergency czar will be appointed. So back to this guy, Alex Azar. He is the one that initiated a public health emergency, which forced Trump to issue a national emergency, which led to him losing power and giving it all to FEMA. So he's the one that initiated the pandemic. And what makes this so obvious is his name. He is a czar, right? And he issued the emergency. Not only that, he was the first chairman of the White House House Sauce 19 task force for only 1 month, meaning he only came in to initiate the war. So back to the executive orders. EO number 12656. This is what allowed the lockdowns and gives them the right to federalize the National Guard to seal all borders and take control of U.S. airspace and all ports of entry. Allows the takeover of all modes of transportation and control of highways and seaports. Allows them to seize and control communications media Y'all see what's happening on TV and social media. Allows to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum, fuels, and minerals. Their first test was the gas prices. Y'all remember that, right? Allows them to take over all food resources and farms. We see GMO everything. Allows them to mobilize civilians to work brigades. That sounds like slavery to me. Allows them to take over all health, education, and welfare functions. That is clearly happening right now. Designate the Postmaster General to operate a national registration of all persons. That was the census that went out a few years ago during the lockdowns. Allows them to take over all airports, aircraft, and commercial aircraft. Allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, build new housing with public funds, designate areas to be abandoned, and establish new locations for populations. So for instance, let's say a big old fire just happened somewhere. This is exactly what they are talking about. This is why rent has been increasing everywhere, no matter where you at or what kind of place you have. They're trying to get you out in the streets so they have more authority over you to place you in these specific communities. So it'll be easier for them to control. Allows them to take over railroads, inland waterways, and public storage facilities. All executive orders into effect in times of increased international tensions and economic and financial crisis. Now you see exactly why I always talk about the stock market, because it's literally our lifeline. All those orders are going into effect at one time. All they was doing before was practicing it at different times. The pandemic before the real pandemic, which is World War III, the apocalypse, the rapture. So when all executive orders is in effect, they have the authority to institute industrial support to establish judicial and legislative liaison to control all aliens, to operate penal and correctional institutions. And what I told y'all before, we are the aliens. We are alien because they believe they own our bodies. This is why they are called vessels, because everything is ships. So clearly, FEMA been running the show for the last few years. This is why on Biden's first day, he signs executive orders to reverse Trump's policies, because Trump was giving back power to the Republic. He did this in order to give power to the WHO, which will be their God, corporation-wise. Now let me explain. I'll show you how they already building a new world order right now, and we just didn't notice. As y'all can see, the advisor, this was the guy that was pointed right below the king. As y'all can see, the only way you get this position is by your loyalty and talent, or inherited by their fathers. Like I always tell y'all, all these people be the same family, doing the same thing. For instance, this was a Pfizer, a single person. But this is when the straw man comes in. They trick the whole world to think they're a corporation. So they're using umbrella corporation as a hierarchy. So as y'all can see on the bottom, it shows the jurisdictions: judiciary, treasury, war, interior, agriculture, and general executives, the smaller companies. So if y'all didn't watch my recent video, this is called Very Important, because it is. You can correlate the video with this one. But basically, we hear about the World Health Organization taking sovereignty, right? World Health Organization will be the king, and the Pfizer is obviously Pfizer. Just in case you haven't noticed, a lot of things was brought to you by Pfizer on TV. Y'all know what stations I'm talking about. They do some research. So I'm sure most of us seen Resident Evil before, and we all know the Umbrella Corporation is what caused a apocalypse to happen, right? What if we just took it wrong and they just really meant an umbrella of corporations? But that's just something to think about. But anyways, y'all know how to keep it. Y'all be gods. Peace. Yo, this for the chosen ones. It's about to get deep. If you're mentally weak, go ahead and scroll now. I'm about to break down his story so y'all can see why it keeps repeating itself. This is our major fall in frequency into the black hole, which is the black hole sun we all seen during the eclipse. I want y'all to pay attention to all the dates I'm about to mention inside this video so you can correlate everything yourself and do your own research. It all started with World War I, as y'all can see, from July the 28th, 1914 to November the 11th, 1918. They placed this realm under low frequencies by using towers. They realized they had to create a system to take over our minds as one collective, because they could take us out in one area, but then there'd be a whole nother area that's reproducing, not going with their program, meaning we'll never lose unless we fought each other. But they knew eventually we'll start remembering what actually happened. So they continue to build on the system that they started off with years ago. And it's what we call the internet. So just imagine we're already under the Skynet. Now you're choosing to enter a net knowingly. Also note the countries mentioned. This is on the same side I said they initially landed and took over and eventually got them to help take over us here in the Americas. Even ancient texts describe this exact same loop that we are in right now, because as a collective, we are still asleep. So just 2 years after the war, ironically, the first municipal electric pole was placed in Los Angeles out of all cities in America. So I'm sure we all heard of the Wall Street crash back in 1929, right? Which was basically in the war era, because what they did was manipulate the market with their fraud. They built up their own system and took everything they had out, leaving the average Joe like us stranded with nothing. Then to add fuel to the fire, they had the nerve to create the SEC to prevent things like that from happening again. Basically more rules so they can manipulate, and we can't. But things like this is all done for because of Chevron deference that recently was overturned. And of course, I made plenty of videos about everything I'm talking about in deeper detail. Just check them out yourself because I can't put everything in one video. Anyways, I always mention the market because it's our literal lifeline. Just imagine about it being pure energy. You place that energy into a dollar bill, and then you give them your dollar bill, and they harvest your energy somewhere and use it for their own needs, of course. And I know we all been here for this market crash in 2007 and 2008. And take a wild guess at what formed the year after this. Bitcoin. That is where they place all the money, which is actually the energy. And they're about to do the exact same thing again. They're going to drain all the markets. Then they're going to place everything into digital currencies, causing a crazy bull market, while all the other markets will never recover. And I want y'all to sit and think about why the creator was never verified. Probably because it's the GOV. They literally know everything. Why wouldn't they know this? So back to this, the World War I. As y'all can see on the bottom, it mentions the Spanish disease. And notice how the way they say the movement of large numbers of soldiers and civilians was a major impact of it, when really it was just the soldiers. Because we all know when you go in the military, they make you line up and take all kinds of hot sauces. That was how they was able to spread viruses, diseases, and mutations through humanity by our consent to allowing it to manifest. Also, a partial reset happened during this era. Everything they did was to cover that up also, to keep us in the darkness so they could keep doing the same thing over and over and over again by mixing the war with the pandemic, all in order to drain our energy to keep this place running. I mean, just think about it. When women was allowed to actually make a choice and who they wanted to run this country, I'm gonna say, quote unquote. Again, this is the same era of their takeover / invasion. And I already know people get emotional over this one, but it's the truth. This is why it became a part of their design. The reason they wasn't able to make a choice is because they are childlike and incapable of making independent thought. This is why a man has to lead, because the Matrix is designed to trick your thoughts. This movement was created in order to remove power from the man to place into the female, so our enemies later take it away from the female, then use it against both of us. And the ones get triggered by this are taken over by evil spirits, and they don't even know it. They can't control themselves, they can't control their thoughts. They're just out of control in general. And they do and say whatever they need to fight to uphold this system. I mean, just look at social media. There's countless examples, probably in your real life too. So just 100 years ago, they couldn't make a choice because of this reason. And now they're making a choice that you could run the whole country. And you see that that's where they play with your emotions from, and that's what they're doing. Everything's a psyop. They already know you're not going to think about it on a deeper level, just a surface level, and they're going to just create a surface level they think you like. So once they're on the verge of basically fully taking us over, right, they use this as a weapon until they figured out a way to destroy God's immune system by using something physical that we can see to scare or coerce us into giving consent to destroy our immune system, which bypasses universal laws. Also note, this is the only thing that was completely eradicated in 1980. And take a wild guess what popped up in 1981. Yep, you have it right, folks. And this is literally a side effects from the hot sauces people took in order to prevent the previous disease I just mentioned just now in the video. Everything's correlated. Most people that ever gets this consent it in one way or another, but it's all a setup because of them. All diseases, viruses, mutations, hell, even the cold weather came from them. We are living in their matrix, their quote-unquote Saturn matrix. I will talk about World War II, but clearly our enemies form all our current governments. We never won the war because we are still in it. We are literally in a war of different worlds, meaning different realities, and they need our souls in order to uphold their realities. It is us versus the Elohim, who is the Greys and the Pleiadians and their creations, which includes the dragons and the serpents, who are Neptune, Uranus, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. They are negative frequency stars, which are spirits. Like, I hope y'all don't think this AI boom came out of nowhere. It's because they had help from the Greys and the Pleiadians. I mean, the first cell phone came out in 1973. That was like 50 years ago. And they was going for like $4,000. But nowadays, everyone got one. And that's because it's a weapon designed to lower our frequencies. It even appears as though they have a 10-year cycle to when they lower the frequency even more because of our rise. If you don't find anything that I just said in this video suspicious, I don't know what to tell you. Because they clearly took over everything within our lifetimes, all in order to control our mind in one collective, to get rid of God's image and turn it into theirs. Anyways, y'all know how I keep it. Y'all be gods. Peace.